the first line of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as I mentioned, is about full lives in dignity and rights. Those are not the same thing. But the second line, which I haven't quoted for you, out of the Universal Declaration of Rights, is actually says something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing now, that therefore we must behave towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood or sisterhood. I mean, it actually says attitudinally we need to change in order to respect this idea and to realize full lives in dignity and freedom and rights. There's something operational we have to do, and it's about our behavior. Now, this is a shortcoming conceptually in, for example, the Canadian Constitution, but in many places. For Indigenous peoples in Canada, the Constitution as such and its premise of the doctrine of discovery is exactly antithetical to the idea of respect of their dignity and so forth. So, I mean, there's a contradiction here that has to be addressed. And Professor Lamache, whom you mentioned, and for whom I have enormous respect and appreciation of her approach to these topics, she is right to be concerned, because there is a tendency, even by well-meaning people, I'll mention someone else in a moment, to think in kind of calculable terms of productivity, of material outputs. That's not what human rights conceptually is about. It's not only the people who can make something who are to be valued. It's, profit and so forth. In fact, it's almost the opposite. I will mention someone I have enormous high regard for, Amartya Sen, economist and, great thing, a Nobel laureate and so forth. He's talked a lot about human rights in terms of the capacitization and the kind of fullest effort thinking about equality. And I admire Sen, but I think he's got it wrong on this, because it reduces the human being to just kind of a productive, maybe it's because he's an economist, and I would say, no. And by the way, that's a problem with the World Bank and elsewhere. They're looking at these sides, okay, how can we make you more productive? There's a lot of groups in the world that are not seeking to be more productive. What they're seeking is a life in dignity, not the same thing. I mean, this is, I think, relatively quite clear for Indigenous peoples who also, their relationship with habitat and environment. They don't look at the forest as how many cords of wood you can cut down. They have an entirely different approach. They actually think they have a stewardship obligation to protect the tree, not to cut it down and burn it or build with it. So we need to orientate ourselves. And, we have to think about, we should be working here. I would say, Gandhi was said to have said, I can't remember now the exact, but we judge our society by how we treat the least well off, minorities and others, the disadvantaged. And he, as you know, then took an oath of poverty, and he actually, as an advantaged lawyer, wealthy guy, lived very poor for the last part of his life. And he walked, and that's why he partly took up things like, making cloth and so forth. He was trying to say, we need to come down to the simpler level of the human condition. And we have to think, where are the values there? And what does a full life in dignity mean?